This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV. It's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
Duck child. Because otherwise, you're just eating iguanas.
You're eating iguanas
that fall out of trees. As soon as it hits 50, they just fall in balls.
You're going to eat iguanas, some bull hogs, and hopefully scratch away at a couple slot redfish.
Yeah, and an alligator.
And an alligator
too. But
cheers, guys. We didn't do this. I appreciate y'all being here.
Cheers. And as Floridians, I think I can speak for me and Jack. We both appreciate the effort that's going into it from y'all.
Yeah, we really appreciate a university, people of like yourselves looking into this issue for the state of Florida.
I think it's important.
Every duck hunter we've talked to is just very, very happy about
it.
Well, people are also, they're kind of like, why the, like, even some of the people we've talked to, like, why the heck do you care about Florida mottled ducks? You're in New York. Like, even you were like, well, why? And I'm like, well, I was there once.
I didn't say that.
You're kind of like, why? But you're kind of like, we don't know anything about Florida. I don't know anyone there. I'm like,
no,
you brought some guys.
You brought this to my table. I deeply appreciate it. These guys need to go back home, never come back to our part of the country and shoot our duck. Welcome to part 2 of the Kitchen Conversations with the Florida Boys. At the Foul Weather Podcast, we truly believe that the kitchen is the perfect place for sharing information, spending time with family and friends, and genuinely BSing about life, ducks, the science of duck migration, duck conservation, and duck hunting itself. At either home or camp, the kitchen is a place to celebrate the day and come together to learn from each other, but also simply enjoy life. The Foul Weather Podcast aims to use the kitchen conversations as a way to bring duck science with duck science people directly to you in raw form. But we also aim to simply talk with duck people across duck country as well. And very often you're going to notice that duck science people are also duck people from across duck country. Think about that for a second. Most of the people that work very hard to conserve ducks in duck habitat are also duck hunters from across duck country, USA. Thanks for joining us for part 2 of the conversation with our new Florida friends. All brought to you over venison stew, duck kebabs, and solid New York beers from the farm kitchen. Thanks for listening, and as always, may your skies be filled, and shoot straight, my friends.
And that's a crazy... So Dom mentioned this in our very early chats about coming up with this idea. And correct me if I'm wrong, I may have some numbers wrong, but you said that a game farm mallard is 5% genetically different than a wild mallard?
A game farm mallard is approximately, when looking at specific regions, about 10% genetically different than a wild mallard, while a black duck's 1.5% genetically different than a wild mallard, and they look different.
So just to put this in perspective, I looked this up. A ape is 1% different genetically than a human. So that's how different they are.
I'm not sure in terms of how they're doing it genetically, because they're looking at different regions.
Gotcha.
But that's the way it was done in the mallards.
I'd say
it's scary.
If you can touch on why that's bad, because you hear, we've got these mottled. So what does that create? You talked about the efficiency in feeding. You've talked about the ability to not migrate. It's not a big deal for mottled. What kind of problems do you see that persist in these mottled ducks because of that?
Well, looking at some Ben Lucan and stuff, which you had on during the duck symposium, his work came out, and it's really just groundbreaking, some of the stuff that he discussed in his work. But the stuff where there's more of a tendency for these higher percentage game farm mallards to bias their daily usage towards urbanized environments.
Right.
From what you were saying, these golf courses, these Disney ponds, these boomers' backyards, they're loaded with these mutts.
Oh, they are.
So in Syracuse, you have these photos of it's always somebody's bird feeder.
Yeah, there's a guy 400 yards down the street who he's got a bird feeder in his yard. And we'll drive by because it's the main strip to go to the store, the gas station before you hunt, whatever, in the evenings. And I've driven by and there's literally mallards sitting on his roof.
Yeah.
Because they're like perched on his roof like freaking tree dogs.
And the crazy
Looking
thing
for the bird feed seeds.
In-
And there's like a herd of them.
So
in
And
Florida,
in the middle of a big freeze up. They're
still there.
They're still there.
in Florida, it's hard. Like people don't understand how hard it is to kill a mottled duck in Florida. Like people have for years to kill mottled ducks.
Because they live there,
Yeah.
and they know where all the guns are at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
but these hybridized ducks aren't as smart.
Yeah,
You know,
no.
So
we-
the urbanization I think makes it hard.
Yeah.
But also like is that like making your population decline? Because from what I've seen, there's been a 60 to 70% decline in all mottled ducks over the last like 50 to 80 years.
Well, we just don't know. I mean,
Because is it because that they're mixing with these game farm mallards and there may be some domestic traits present that are detrimental towards surviving in the wild? We don't know.
Or is it just that all this like suburbanization?
Oh, they're just, like,
is just
in your park pond.
you're losing habitat.
And that's the
too.
thing. It's do they also
its
do they
habitat,
just not
is
have
it
fear
genetic?
anymore? They don't have really fear humans like the mud models that live on like I don't know Smith Way in the middle of a town. You know they don't have any fear. They have dogs running around them all the time. They have whatever cats like
They're comfy.
they have no fear.
They've
Yeah.
comfy. You said sent me some pictures of some models that had cracked corn in their gizzard.
Yeah, they're coming
like,
out.
I know not from you guys, hopefully not from any other hunters baiting them, but they were probably just
no, it's
eating
really
cracked
it's
corn from
just
somebody feeding them
the
in
golf
their
course
backyard.
mallards and models. You know,
There's no cracked corn in.
and I'd say
No, there's
like,
no cracked
Island,
corn.
yeah,
Florida,
yeah,
just-
yeah,
no,
the
there's
coast
not.
of Florida.
And I'd say of the models that I've been able to take some samples from. Not just the ones I've obviously, but the people that I've hunted with or people I know that had said, hey, we killed a model. If you want to come here and sample it, those people and the models I've collected, I'd say I've collected about 40 so far, and of those, I'd say just off the top of my head, I could tell you at least 30 of them that I could say 100% had genetics of mallards, whether it's the white.
Oh, I would say 100.
Just from looking at.
No,
looking at-
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're willing to
my
bet.
bad.
You'll
I'm-
put money on it.
Yeah. See, I'm talking on a science podcast.
to-
It's not a scientist,
and
so
to
I'm
be-
doing percentages
Yeah.
the wrong way.
To be fair, we're both.
to be fair,
we're both
kitchen-
not scientists.
I mean, if
To be-
we're,
to be
There's
fair-
a lot of bro science
yeah,
down here.
we're
in Florida.
Florida science guys.
but I'll agree with you. If it's got a green head and some tail curls and double whites,
Yeah,
bars,
double
it's
white
Probably not.
it's probably not.
and
a
I'm
pure
not,
mallard.
and I'm
A
not
mottled
gonna
duck.
lie. I killed a mutt last year, and it was beautiful. It had double butt curl or triple butt
Some of
curl.
the hybrids.
It was a hybrid, and it had like a nice green stripe. down-
streak.
I put it on my wall. It was beautiful. I couldn't.
Some of the
not.
hybrids are pretty, because they get different designs and they look kind of, different.
Like
than
exotic,
you've ever
you
seen.
know?
Some of them are disgusting looking.
And
Yo,
some
some
of
of
them
them
are
look
very
terrible.
disgusting. They look like Frankenstein's monster.
Well, this is the messed up one that the feds and flyway and stuff don't want to touch, and it's the truth is that it's all like this perception of what we think or what we want to call a species. Because if you look at you just said that when I went out and got a beer is like mallards and black ducks are like 2.5% genetically different, and a European mallard and a North American mallard are 10% different.
Yeah.
But we call one thing a different species and the other one we don't.
Yeah.
So, it's but it's also that we want to keep that morphological color differentiation
Yeah,
as
100%.
part of like the
I mean, a
culture
pure
of-
model, even a bad hybrid, not even a bad hybrid. Let's say like a duck that you can't really tell is a hybrid. You can tell the difference when you have a pure model right next to it.
Yeah, and I'd say what you were saying, Dom, about people who come to shoot their 41, they want to come shoot modeled. What should be most concerning as a Floridian is if you want to go shoot your 41, you might kill a duck that's 90% pure model and maybe 10% some kind of hybrid, and it's maybe hybridized over time.
Yeah.
And it may maybe not be a hybrid on that 50-50 like it was just born, but it was hybridized over time. So if that continues and those models continue to hybridize, what species are you creating? What differentiations are you making in that duck? And what's been concerning is how fast that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember, and this, like, once again, I don't want to use our bro science, right? We're just like back in the day, I do remember shooting a lot more pure models.
Pure looking model.
Well,
Pure
pure
looking,
looking,
right?
Yeah.
And that could be maybe I just wasn't looking into it to the same degree I am now, or that could be from the fact that we have more development, we have more people moving in, we have more of these mallards and mottles that have been breeding in the last 10 years.
There's
So
more urbanized areas. Where
more urbanized areas.
They
and
can actually
could
survive.
that be a direct correlation?
Well, here's the thing too: is like Florida is not allowing the release of these things on any large scale.
Besides like one place.
Besides one place, which released 4,000 last
But Georgia does it.
But Georgia does it, and South Carolina definitely does it.
And they
So are those birds
absolutely
coming to you?
Wandering.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would say they fly straight down that flyway, like from.
We'll tell them about that pure greenhead you shot on the refuge. And
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
so
Like what's your bag limit now?
Oh yeah, I got in a
That's the other thing.
disagreement with the biologist.
Is the difference between a mottled duck and a mallard when you bring it to a national wildlife refuge and a mallard isn't on the
list.
kill list.
The kill list. So they said this is a
sex?
model.
Is it sex?
And they said, you're essentially, we weren't over our limit, but I made the argument because we had 3 guys, we had 3 models and a hybrid. And I said,
2
well,
models and hybrid.
no, we had, because it was 4 guys, we had 3 models and a hybrid. He's like, you're lucky you didn't kill another mottled, because you would have been over your limit. I said,
Yeah.
sir, this has a green head and a curl. And you're
Right.
a biologist.
Not a
Not a
And,
mottled duck.
he said, well, technically we can't count it because we don't have that on the species list, so that has to be a model. And I'm like, well, I know it has to be, but it's got a green
It's
head
not.
and a curl.
But it's not.
It's a mallard,
Yeah.
and it just gets so frustrating because it really is politics, telling you that's a mallard or that's a model, but that's only on a national refuge.
But in-
This is also
What
the
if you
place
got
if you
checked?
kill snow goose,
Yeah, you
you're getting
can't-
in trouble
You
because
get
they
in
don't have it
trouble.
on
You
the kill
can't,
list.
you can't harvest goose.
And
at
people
that.
have killed snow goose in Florida like no other this year.
Oh yeah, snow geese are coming down.
Yeah.
That's
What?
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 I'm
What's
not gonna say
happening?
where.
What's happening?
Yeah,
I'm not going to say where,
Yeah.
but I will say that snow geese have been getting killed, and it's not uncommon to
Like
see
a few every week.
Maybe they're all escaping bird flu because snow geese are dying everywhere from bird flu this year. They're like, oh, let's just get out of Dodge.
I mean, snow goose hunt in Florida sounds pretty sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to the weather you have to do it in up here sometimes.
No, yeah,
Right.
just
And it's-
chilling in a
they're-
blind
And
70
they're
degrees
not coming down like,
in hordes.
10,000,
Yeah,
5,000. You might
No.
find like,
20.
20 snow
Yeah.
geese, 15 here,
that's
5 there.
that's a
2
shit
there.
ton of snow geese in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 15 more than it should be.
Yeah.
Florida's wild. One of the things that like stood out to me when I was down there is like you're driving like down the highway and stuff, and you look at like these little like neighborhood drainage basins, but there's like 30 sandhill cranes just staring at you.
Oh, my, we
don't-
don't even want to talk about
Let's
Santa.
not talk about Santa.
Cranes.
We can definitely
There's
talk
so
about
many
Santa.
sandhill cranes, and they just like look at you like from you to me.
So
I'm
I
running
talked-
and
The
looking
local,
at
like what? But when my mom's got friends that moved to Florida,
Yeah.
and when she goes down there, she's like, "There's just cranes everywhere. They're
And
like
they're
in the
like your
backyard."
buddy. They're like your buddy.
Yeah.
They'll actually attack your dog.
I heard
They're so mean.
They have to be like the turkeys in like Boston, like attacking
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah,
and stuff.
exactly. That's exactly what they are. And so I talked to an FWC guy down in the STAs, and again,
That's a lot of
Forever-
acronyms. So
forever.
the Florida
Florida Fish and Wildlife.
Fish and Wildlife,
Yeah, sorry.
down in the
Florida
what?
Fish and Wildlife Commission.
STA.
What's
that?
SDA?
STA is the stormwater treatment area. So it's all the
Okay.
water that is given to Miami and Boca.
No, it's the runoff.
Yeah, it's all the run. It's stored to give.
Like
Right.
treat they
Yeah.
they put it
Clean
through the
it.
vegetation to clean it.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
The Everglades doesn't do it anymore.
But yeah, so I was talking to a gentleman or an officer down there, and he was talking about sandhills because obviously everybody wants to kill the ribeye of the sky, especially as Floridians when we see them all the time. Like they're in your front yard every day. And he said,
Pellet guns only.
yeah, he said,
I did not just say
a bow.
that. I did not just say
a
that.
bow from your roof.
No,
know?
no, do not do
No,
that. Do not.
we've got a breeding population of whooping cranes.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
Those are-
opposite.
and you cannot shoot, and I don't blame them because you really think about it. And I've got buddies that, and I would say I don't think I'm higher. I think higher of myself, but I would like to say if it was first light and you had a whooping crane come in, I
Yeah.
couldn't see a reality where there's not 100% chance someone wouldn't take one.
It's like trying to tell
So
the
you
difference
couldn't
in
tell the
that light
difference.
of a ringer and a bluebill.
We don't have a massive population, but because we have a very small population, they try to.
And he said it was
That's
a
a good
subspecies.
comment.
He also said it was a subspecies.
But they also they have been trying to bring the crane hunt. Like they talk about it a little bit, and it gets a lot of backlash from a lot of different people. It's very frowned upon.
So it can bring on it can coalesce the anti-hunting groups,
Yes.
Yeah.
which you don't want.
Yes.
It's like when Michigan tried to do a dove hunt, and all the antis got together and crushed it, and now Michigan's afraid to bring anything up because all those groups got together because of that.
The bear hunt has been a big topic of debate here in Florida. It was just a topic at the FWC commission meeting. This last one that was over in, I believe, Polk County. And what I thought was so awesome to hear from the commission, and they do try to help. They are working their tails off to try to make Florida a better place for everyone and their hunters and their fishermen. So we thank them for that.
Yeah.
But it's hard, right? You want to make a lot of people
doing
happy.
good things in Florida as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's people, really good advocates that are pushing for change. And what they said about the bear hunt was, there's a lot of anti-hunting groups that are against the bear hunt.
Right.
And they said, let's do this based off science, right? If we have a certain amount of species and we need to have some sort of conservation hunt, we should have that conservation hunt.
Right.
And, we want to care about feelings and we want to care about making sure that we appease everybody. But at the same time, why do we put a value over a certain life, over another certain subset of species or a certain species or a category of game when we have enough to hunt it and we have a sustainable amount to hunt it? So we really need to start looking at it from a science standpoint.
Because it gets to be a slippery slope if you start doing it from a different
what looks
perspective.
cute and what doesn't, right? You had a big push to save a lot of the manatees. We have a lot more manatees now.
The Florida Panther is a huge topic right now,
and we need
people. So
they need the space.
Yeah, they are constantly taking away the space of Florida Panthers, and a lot of people believe that the Florida Panther population is a lot larger than we assume it is because they're so hard to find, they're so hard to catch,
Yeah.
But they do a lot of science just based on panthers getting hit by cars.
Yeah.
That's how they get most of their samples.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and it's just such a hard subject. Like you said, someone brings something up and puts it into an idea, and everybody speaks out against
Latches
it.
on it.
Yeah.
You got to.
And I get it, and especially like if you put yourself in the shoes of like a non-hunter that's kind of like a hot topic is like who cares for animals?
Well, like let's get on cougars and all that stuff up in Colorado and brought to referendum and all that stuff. It's
it's like the next battle.
Like my favorite.
It is all this stuff is like it just comes up as like a voted referendum type thing, and as hunters, like we really have to rally then to have people follow the science and be like, look, this is a legitimate hunt, despite that you watch Disney too much.
Yeah.
You got touchy-feely about animals and have no connection to the land at all. Like it's gonna be I think, Dom, you just said, like, I think it's the next front of all these things that are going to continue to come forward as an assault against what I would say is a lifestyle or right.
Yeah.
Like what
Florida
put in. Like living in New York, I mean, they always say like, hey, we're going to regulate your wood stove for emissions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's how I heat
a wood stove.
It's a wood stove.
Yeah, it's not like I'm going to burn crude oil and tires.
Right. Or just like...
There's like 42 million tons of like tires.
There's just a whole burn line of them.
Where was this?
In Kuwait.
In Kuwait.
It was like, you want to like regulate cow farts. Yeah. It's like a pile of tires just burning the skies black.
Like, we only have 14 acres.
Yeah.
But I actually, as a forestry major, I've realized that at the rate the trees are growing on 14 acres, I can produce my own heat on every single year on my own property. Yeah. Like that is a very American thing.
That's so awesome. My grandparents have a neighbor that does it just from deadfall. And they're on there. They have I think 10 acres, and they do it in Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, that's my line. Mm-hmm. Like you can regulate some other stuff on me in New York and things that come out of New York City, but when you tell me I can't heat my house,
you see the new next one?
It's not happening, by the way. But it's like one of those rumor things. I'm like, man, this is crazy.
The next one is it just happened like in the last week or two. Ban on Gore-Tex.
PFAs.
PFAs.
So
PFAS.
Yeah.
PFAS,
So the plastic stuff.
I kind of agree with.
I kind of get it. That shit's nasty.
Well,
honestly.
And
I like staying dry when I'm done.
I think the hoodies. I think the hoodies from the podcast that we have.
They're going to come elite.
They're like the rain defenders. I'm
Gore-Tex.
pretty sure they're PFAS coming.
Good dude. Gore-Tex is gonna start selling on eBay for like $10,000.
Oh no, I'm gonna run to Pennsylvania and I'll get it for everybody and just drive it back.
Yeah. Smuggle them into New York.
I mean, that's how we're getting ammunition now.
There's still things from New York you go down to Pennsylvania and buy. Yeah.
Ammunition.
Fireworks, ammunition.
You want to order a case of shells?
I've never
to your
done it.
house?
I've never done it.
You want to get a case of shells to your house? You live in New York? Oh well, can't.
But I will say,
Right.
like,
Oh, you cannot mail order shells in New York.
No,
No.
It was so frustrating coming from Florida and to change how I would have to buy shells, to change how I would have to kind of be around with my firearm.
even me, I flew into the city first, and so I couldn't bring my shotgun.
Well, you guys are
Mhm.
blown away. I'm like, I have to go.
So I had to take his shotgun
Yeah.
from Florida
Yeah.
and flew with it up.
So you flew into Syracuse.
Yeah, I flew
Yeah.
into Syracuse.
I couldn't fly into the city with it.
Well, you guys
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Why can't you? So New York City has a law that you
Yeah,
can't.
you can't bring any firearms
Wow.
into the city.
Yeah, I think it's definitely handgun.
Can you?
It's
can you-
handguns.
Can you fly through it? Could you go to like LaGuardia?
Yeah. As long as you don't leave the airport, fine.
Okay.
Also, I don't think you really want to either.
Yeah, like
you
you
know
don't
what?
want to be carrying around
Go on the subway.
like
You're gonna get so many
$800
people gonna
shotgun in
call.
the subway.
Well,
Oh my gosh.
technically,
might get lit on fire.
technically, I mean, what's messed up is like technically, and these are regulations that are meant for criminals that have hit hunters here in New York, is that you have to have your guns in a locked secure
That's the
case
same
in
thing.
New York. If you get out of the vehicle, I think it is Dominic. Like it's like if you stop at a convenience store on the way, do not implicate yourself. If you stop at a convenience store on the way to go hunt, they can't be just in a soft case.
That's
Like
crazy.
they have to be in, like at least a
In a hard lock fashion.
hard lock and locked, right?
Yep.
Jake, is that what it is?
Yeah.
So like Sarah's a very compliant Canadian, so we drive around like this all the time. Like,
Yeah.
we bring now our soft cases with us to go hunt,
When I went to Saskatchewan,
and we
the
lock
same way.
because if
Yeah.
like we stop at the convenience store to grab sandwiches and coffee, like we make sure it's legal, because people have actually been. So it's like
Oh yeah.
only if they want you. Like there was some.
Well, if you did
Some
something-
politician that got pulled over and had a firearm just out in his vehicle, and he basically got railroaded. But it was
Yeah,
like a
people were
political. It was like a
waiting.
political
They
thing.
like made him an example.
Yeah, exactly. So
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does without me lifting a finger, so I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, like you guys are blown away. You're saying like, look, we need to get some shells. We're doing divers and trying to get you guys sea ducks. Pick the worst weekend for sea ducks up here. But like, I'm like, yeah, we need to get a couple boxes of shells for you guys. I'm like, I'm gonna have to go to runnings. I'm gonna go a couple days earlier because I'm not sure if I can.
Yeah.
The system's down. I
So
might
we
not
get checked.
shells for like
Yeah.
3 days.
you get checked for
And it-
buying shotgun shells.
You
How
have
does
to go
it
through a
joke in
background
Florida?
check, and there's like 6 people working the online system if you get it through or not, and it's like luck of the draw.
But here's the thing: I think people on the podcast that are listening need to know is that rural New York doesn't support that.
No,
that
it
is
does.
100% the
The
city.
people working there hate those rules. Every
Right.
time you go in, they're like, you're buying 4-shot steel waterfowl loads.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I understand.
No,
We're not buying 223s.
If
No.
you want, I understand.
Nobody
if
goes
you
with-
want to
yeah.
buy like 10,000 rounds of 5.56
Yeah, 5.56.
and have it like now.
right.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
But I want to buy 4 boxes of steel waterfowl loads, and it might take me 3 hours.
Well, the question is, did it make anybody safer?
No, but I've seen
And
some
there should
sad
be
things.
so there should be some science behind that.
I've seen some sad things.
There should be some science behind it.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it there. I don't want to go too deep down this
I've
rabbit hole.
witnessed a kid go to the sporting goods store right before the open air duck season, and he had his waders, he had all of his waterfowl gear, and he was with his 3 buddies, and he was amped to go on his first duck hunt. He was gonna go buy a shotgun and a couple boxes of shells. And he literally walked in, did the check, and there's a line of people. It's like a couple days before the opening day of duck season. And the system would not work for him. He could not buy a gun. He could not buy any shells. And all the other kids, they looked like they were just out of high school, maybe. They didn't have extra guns or anything like that. So he couldn't go duck hunting opening day. And he was pretty upset about it. And that could have been, a lifelong waterfowl.
It's a barrier.
So hopefully he got out. Yeah. But that really affects stuff like that. Or you guys, let's say your gun breaks. You can't buy a gun in New York.
Oh yeah, we break a gun, we go to Walmart and buy a gun.
You can't if you break a gun up here.
You can't even loan one.
You can't even touch a gun.
Yeah, so when I went to Canada, we were trying to figure that out. Like, do we bring our guns? Do we loan a gun? Like, how do we do that? And got around. We ended up bringing them, but it was a process through the airport, and that's the same process that New York has.
If you shoot a swivel on your gun and it blows up while we're out here and we want to hunt for 2 more days, we cannot take you to Cabela's to buy a new gun.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No, can't buy one here.
It's crazy. But in the state of Florida, it's kind of the opposite. Everybody in the rural areas kind of outweighs the cities. If you go to Tampa and Orlando, people think the same way. Like, people wish that you had to go through a background check to buy.
Well, we do. We have cooling off period. Well, not for ammo, but for guns.
For guns, they do.
We have cooling off periods where unless you got your concealed carry, you can't walk out with a gun same day.
Well, that's a pistol. It's
that's still
the Como
that's
thing.
the long gun.
The Safe Act.
Really?
Right? You can't. That you guys had to say you can't do it.
That was put in after the Parkland incident.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, it affects waterfowl hunters.
I haven't bought a gun in 10 years. So
yeah.
So what I came up with is that no one should ever come here to duck hunt because it sucks, and we're the redheaded stepchild of the Atlantic Flyway.
And if you duck your waders for the first time ever, your toes are gonna hurt real, real bad.
What'd you do?
I dunked my waders on the first day, and
he found the ditch.
I found the ditch.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
if I stayed till
if I didn't have to, if I didn't
stayed all morning.
My toes were so. When I got in the car and started warming them up, my feet were on fire.
Jake's like the responsible one, and he's like,
to the game. He was like, if you
get
cold,
tell us.
Yeah, don't tell us when you're cold. Right. Tell us before. But the good thing is I had so many layers. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of cheated. I have a self-warming jacket. So nice.
But I deeply appreciate that a guy from Florida came here and just fell in.
Dunked his waders, but he got his black.
I've floated my hat in those marshes so many times.
But the thing is we have the same. If I didn't have the canoe, I was going all the way in. The only
you were holding on to it.
Yeah, the only way I stayed on the canoe or out of the water was I grabbed onto the canoe and kind of tricep dipped myself up and kicked back to the
marsh we're in is brutal.
So one of the things I noticed is that when you get near the ditch, there's old boreholes or something from muskrats.
Yeah.
And it caves away. Have you? I've never been in a marsh that caves away.
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
So
that is new for me.
Jake, tell us about the first time we hunted that there this year with you and my genius idea.
Oh, you were saying let's go for a mile hike over into the back section of that marsh. We get over there and all right, we got to cross this ditch. And cool, fine, whatever. We'll start crossing. It's deep. He didn't bring a canoe. You were just gonna.
Oh, this is the jet sled.
We jet sled it. It's easier to get it. We didn't know because you can't. Our difference between our marshes in the refuge is you can't go and get in it to scout. So when you look at it, you're like, oh, it's our game plan. That looks fine. Worst comes worst, we can just, maybe it's up to the brim of the waders. We can just hold on to the jet sled, just walk across. It'd be a lot easier because I don't think we can paddle in a mile through that thick stuff.
Right.
We figured out a way. There's a will, there's a way. But
Dom, who's a marathon runner, was able to just float across on the jet sled.
So I'm 130 pounds soaking wet.
Sent that back over to me. I was not able to float across, and I went down.
Was it a full-size jet?
Yeah, it's a extra large, jet sled.
Because Sarah and I talked about doing that tomorrow instead of.
Don't. That borrow ditch is deep.
I didn't touch the bottom.
You didn't touch the bottom.
Oh,
no. His hat floated.
Yeah.
Rim ditches you can use.
I just end up.
Did you just go back to the truck?
Yeah.
And he goes to me. He goes, truck. I go, I can leave now. I can leave now if you're cold. We had a cold first week or two in the season. And he's like, no.
No, it was already chilly.
I'm going to take off all my clothes and sit in the truck and warm up. Go shoot your 6 birds.
I turned the heat seekers on.
So that was, how many, that wasn't an opener. It was in the first week.
The Tuesday or Thursday after the opener.
And that's the same thing. They were talking about it. And they're like, if we can leave, whenever you want, let us know. I'm like, I'll just paddle back, go sit in the truck,
Right.
bother my girlfriend or something.
I came back with my shirt off because it was 70 degrees by the time we got done, like
Yeah.
an hour later.
Yeah, we got in there. It was
Dude.
like 34 degrees, and it was 70 or something when.
Sweating, like
Yeah.
dragging
So that is
100
Florida.
pounds of decoys.
That is Florida.
Yeah,
You
sweating
walk-
duck
you
hunting
walk-
is a new
You
thing.
walk in there,
Sweating
it's,
duck
it's
hunting.
40,
Mosquitoes.
35 to 45 degrees. You walk out of there, it's 75, 80.
Mm-hmm.
You go from wearing multiple layers, freezing, wearing gloves, to you're wearing waders without a shirt on.
Dude,
And you just look like a hillbilly in the middle of the marsh without a shirt on wearing waders.
it's like an alien planet. You guys are using palm tree fronds as duck balls
Yeah,
down
so
there.
so that's exactly what we use.
But, like,
I go around my
It's
neighborhood
not.
and
It's not just.
train.
It's not just gators. It's snakes.
Snakes.
The
It's
spiders, the
Spiders, the spiders are crazy.
This is hilarious. So when Sarah and I were at Mississippi State University, we lived in it was actually like a gated apartment thing, like complex where there were apartments on either side,
Yeah.
and then a concrete parking lot, and all our mailboxes were outside the gate.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that lived there was a biologist that worked for the Army Corps of Engineers. Got to be friends with him and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was walking out one day to get my mail in bare feet,
Yeah.
and he's like, "What are you doing? You're gonna die." Like I walk around. I literally half the summer working on the farm.
Yep.
Don't even put shoes on.
Yep.
It's
And
like
that's-
in Florida.
And to be honest,
you would die.
Florida,
wouldn't you?
like I have a flip flop tan line on my foot, and it's January. It's straight up flip flop tan line on my foot. But then that's the weird thing is it
Can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
But honestly, I'm not
gonna
gonna lie. The biggest threat to you in Florida as a whole, mosquitoes. They are terrible.
Oh, yeah.
The
All
pants-
year?
the pants,
All year?
pretty much all year, unless it drops me to like 40. But I was sitting in a climber one time trying to kill deer in the middle of a swamp in Florida,
Got a new friend.
and I had like a little piece of my leg open and like the little zipper on the side of your pants open just to stay cool. Smoked. Like then that whole spot probably had 60 bites
Of mosquitoes.
when we hunt turkeys, we sleep in bug nets. Like we have hammocks, we sleep in bug nets. One mosquito gets in there, just smokes your forehead all night long.
But is it a disease problem too?
It's
Is
not
that
a disease problem.
No.
It's just you're gonna itch for the next 4 days.
Well, like we have equine encephalitis up here.
I'm sure
you
we
must have that.
I'm sure we have something, but
I'm sure if you get buying up mosquitoes, you're gonna catch something.
oh yeah, but I mean everybody in Florida has been smoked by so many. Like it's just like a way of life. I mean, constantly when you're hunting, you're like it's so bad that when we're hunting, especially like low light situations, if a mosquito flies by, it kind of looks like a duck in the
I've been there.
distance, and
I've been there.
you like break your neck on a mosquito. It's terrible.
You wanna know what's crazy about
Like cattail fluff.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
What's crazy about here is guess where there's no mosquitoes during the summer?
On the legs.
In the wetlands.
Really?
In the wetlands. Because if it's done right, there's enough invertebrates there that are eating
I
enough of the
wish.
mosquito larvae.
I
There's
wish.
no mosquitoes.
We should do the typical Florida thing, bring some of those down there and just release them into the wild.
We had our wetlands class. You're like not.
No,
getting
it's
bit by
crazy. Like as
mosquitoes.
much as we sample these wetlands that are managed, there's like hardly any mosquito larvae that we ever pick up.
I was saying that
They're
was
all
like
in,
the biggest
like-
threat to us.
I always said like the people that complain about it, I'm like, dude, your tire disaster back there with the water that's sitting in your tires that you've been throwing out for 30 years is producing the million mosquitoes that are
Oh,
issue.
yeah.
It's not the wetland across your road.
100%.
That's
No.
like
It's that like stagnant shallow.
I mean,
stuff.
if it gets bad enough, I'll take like the dog bowl out of my backyard.
Yeah.
Like they'll breed in the dog bowl. They'll breed
we-
in anything.
we
Fish
put-
feed or like little bird bass. They'll breed in them.
well, off our woodsheds, we just put buckets in the summer
Yeah.
and catch water to water our chickens and our geese and stuff
So
that we
cool.
have here.
Mhm.
And if those sit stagnant, like it doesn't rain for a while and there's this much water,
Mhm.
there's squiggly stuff in it
Yep.
every single
Oh, yeah.
time.
Yep.
And you're just like, oh, dump that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where half my stuff. And drain tile. Like
Yep.
drain tiles, all that sits. If there's an opening, like that stuff's gonna just produce a ton of mosquitoes too.
Yeah.
so.
We, like I said, kind of before we started recording this podcast, I live in the Mosquito Lagoon.
Is it literally the name of
That's
it?
the
Yeah,
name
Mosquito
of the
Lagoon.
area. It's
There's
just
like a
Mosquito
famous like
Lagoon.
inshore fishing area too.
Yeah, so it used to be a lot better than it is, and sadly that it's not nearly what it used to be. It used to be one of the top lagoons in the country. I think it fell to the bottom.
As a
really?
result of pollution, grass die off.
Well, there's a multitude of reasons.
You guys lost a lot of your eelgrass, right?
We lost a lot of grass.
The
You could
eelgrass?
say we had a lot of, fresh water that got put in there through hurricanes, and it killed off a lot of seagrass. You had a lot of people running, in the areas where you're not supposed to run and kind of cutting the grass up with the
You got
engines.
scars.
But the real, you could look into problems with, I think, when they dug out the mosquito ditches and they tried to make them deeper. And just for everyone listening, we had big impoundments of fresh water that used to breed a lot of mosquitoes. And just like...
And ducks.
And ducks.
Yeah,
People do the best is we wanted to mess with them to get rid of the mosquitoes. So we dug mosquito ditches and trenches all through those.
Huh.
And, there's some old timers that say when they brought in a lot of the diggers that maybe it dug up some stuff that was sitting on the bottom from way back in the day and kind of dug up some pesticides and caused algal blooms, killed off a lot of fish. Also, they killed off a lot of grass. I mean, we used to see numbers where it wouldn't be too crazy to go out and have a 40, 50 redfish day back in the day.
Yeah, I know.
And now that is like, you'd be lucky to get on, 5 to 6 redfish.
And then that just
really
affects
good day.
everything. That affects fish, affects manatees, affects birds. Everything in the state of Florida is run off the grass.
I think it's sad for the guides too. We had a great community of guides, and I have a lot of friends that are guides for offshore fishing, inshore fishing. That used to be duck hunting guides as well.
Yeah.
And they could really make a good living, in the wintertime where it's sometimes a lot slower than in the summers and the spring. When you have some of your fishermen that don't necessarily come in. If you're an offshore guide, it's a little bit rougher. You can't get offshore because the waves are kicked up in the Gulf Stream, and you wanted to be a duck guide in that wintertime. That's just not possible anymore. In offshore fishing, they don't allow you to keep red snapper in federal waters. They do on the Gulf, that's state run.
Right.
But on the federal side, you can't keep them, and I think that would really help the guide industry. So, when you think about being a guide and being a full-time guide, it's just not possible out of the area I live in anymore. There is people that do it, and they have a really good clientele, a lot of fly fishing guides, and they do a great job.
Right.
And these guides catch fish. They do. They work their tails off to make sure you do catch fish, and they're good guys, and they put people on good birds, the ones that do a lot of the hunting. But it's not what it used to be. And you've heard that from a lot of people, and you've heard that from a lot of different things. But that's really the sad story.
And is that throughout Florida, you think, or is it localized?
I would say throughout Florida.
Yeah, but Mosquito Lagoon in general, it's very localized in Mosquito Lagoon.
People talk about the same topic in the Tampa Bay as well.
But I will say this: the grass is coming back.
It is.
We have seen a huge amount of grass,
and just the water clarity is
clarity's
insane.
up. I mean, we were seeing hundreds of acres of grass that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
So trending in a very good direction. So
like we were talking about, even like similar to the mottled duck stuff, is just like Florida's like, it's like different. It's like not the same as
different
anywhere
world.
else. I haven't been down there for like a handful of times. Like you guys show me around your outdoor stuff. It's nowhere near New York. It's nowhere near anywhere up here.
But is even like
Not like
South
the
Carolina,
Midwest.
Georgia, it's different
It's
from
different.
that. It's different.
It's just different. It's like going to a whole different world in terms of outdoor stuff.
Coming from a biased opinion, I'm going to say this in a super, super Floridian biased opinion. I think if you're a successful outdoorsman in the state of Florida, you can go to most places in the United States and do very well for yourself.
Yeah, I like
You
that.
guys are passionate about your ducks, so you're talking about like all the people at the refuge and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We got blown away. Like we scouted it. We knew what birds should be where and where they were.
Yeah, this is the thing.
And people are like amped up to go like hunt like a 6-bird scout.
And they get there on
In
Wednesday.
Florida.
They get there on Wednesday
And
to
I'm
hunt
like-
Saturday morning.
And I'm blown away. I'm like,
Every week.
I'm like,
There's someone in line on
why
Wednesday
would you
every
do that?
single week.
Here's the thing. So we haven't touched anything on migration yet.
Yeah.
It's the fall of the broadcast. I don't talk about Florida hardly at all.
No,
Every once in a
no.
while, I'm like, even Florida should be getting
Yeah.
some of these early ducks. It's like whatever. And as a guy from New York, I appreciate meeting you
Yeah.
because genuinely, I shit on Florida.
Yes, you should. Yes, you should. I'm just kidding. I love
But
Florida.
it now makes me feel
I love
bad.
Florida.
And you guys are actually like, I thought you'd be all like suntan and shit, but you're like the whitest people I've seen.
That's because our faces are covered up.
guys-
We're all covered up the whole time.
You're all
They're
camoed
put
up the
on
whole time.
Dog
mask
froze
on.
us in the wintertime.
But
He froze us out there.
froze.
We'll tell them this. We took him to the freaking Oswego Pier today.
Oh, God.
And they're just getting pounded by lake effect.
It was gross.
It was
Lake
like
effect
blowing
was gross.
50 miles an hour. Snow
Like-
coming down sideways. You have to lean into the wind. And
I've
they're
never
like, "This
not
is
wanted to go outside
insane."
until that moment.
Yeah, we're
I
telling.
was like, I don't.
So here's where
No.
I'm at. Like, I want to finish the first thought,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I've already
No.
lost.
Florida appreciated.
Yeah, we
Florida. You
appreciate
love
it.
Florida now.
Quote unquote
You
appreciate
love Florida. You want to move there now.
So migration wise, like ducks just show up every year, or does it vary by the weather to the north? You think?
Very, very much impacted by the northern weather, I would say,
Yeah.
especially like redheads
Okay.
and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say yeah. If you get a lot of north winds, just like any other state on the Atlantic flyway, you'll get a good push. And they historically will go back to the same spots.
Yeah.
It just gets, like I said before, with some of the permits, like you might have a day where they're there for like 2 or 3 days,
And you don't have a permit.
and you don't have a permit.
I think it's a pit stop place.
It's
pit
a
stop.
lily pad. It's
Yeah.
it's a really good lily pad, and there
Where are they going after that though? That's Florida. Like,
Well, they go down. Some of the
they go to the
teal
Caribbean.
Cuba.
Yeah. Your blue wings go to
yeah.
Cuba like
And
crazy.
I will say, like, what's interesting is like the St. Johns River is an awesome place to hunt. Like all up and down the St. Johns, from the very north end of St. Johns,
From Jack's to Orlando.
Guana
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Well, Guana's not St. John's, but its own kind
Yeah.
of thing. But kind of that Guana area, St. John's, all the way down, kind of past. Once you kind of get to South Florida, St. John's kind of ends there. But what's really cool about it is like that area will get a lot of push of birds, and they would probably stack up if you didn't have the pressure. But
the pressure pushes
they
them
get
out.
pressured all day, every day. And
When they
whether
get
it's
there,
from-
they
They
just
have
get
no
pounded.
regulations. So whoever has off,
Yeah,
goes to
you have
smoke some
off.
on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Tu-
Thursday,
they're
Friday,
gone.
Saturday, Sunday.
Now we're recording this on January 3rd.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This cold that's coming that I'm going to report on for I'll record it
Yeah.
on Sunday
Yeah.
for Monday. I mean, there's some serious shit coming.
We're
Yeah.
talking
Will that make a difference for
Yes.
you?
redheads and
Yes.
cans for sure.
Yeah, redheads, cans.
Cans.
We'll get. I mean, we have a huge wintering of bluebills.
But all your like
Yeah,
all-
huge
your
one.
early you got your early dabbling ducks, which you have, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah.
Are they all there? Pretty much. You
They
think they'll
moved down to
push
the like South Florida, and like Florida, like we said before, is very diverse. So Central Florida is a lot different than South Florida. So South
Okay.
Florida, a lot of these birds will stack up in that stormwater treatment area, the STAs, and they'll sit there for a while.
Okeechobee's a big landing spot.
Yeah, Okeechobee, Everglades, they will stack up in there. Like I said, but STAs do require a permit. But
Yeah.
you can have a very good hunt in those areas.
It's not so good.
Especially in
Good
the
luck getting an STA permit.
Yeah, like I said,
It's like pulling teeth. It's
Well,
terrible.
and here's the deal: is like this was on the podcast recently. I think that if draw hunts were so bad,
Yeah.
then they wouldn't be over prescribed
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh,
or
yeah,
over subscribed.
Yeah, it's
Like-
supply and demand.
like,
the demand is way
the
higher.
demand
than the
is way
supply.
higher
as it
than
should be.
what's
As it
available.
should be.
I'd like
In the
to
sense-
see it more balanced.
I think there should be.
more opportunity.
I think there
There
should
should
be
be more
more
opportunity.
open land. But with what we have now, I think the supply being high or the demand being higher than the supplies.
You guys have a
As it
demand
should.
for a quality hunt.
Yeah, we need. I think we need more publicly open permit pools.
Yeah, exactly. Because if we had publicly open permit holes, we would essentially create an area where it wouldn't be too hard to pull these permits.
Right.
Yeah.
have good
If I
ducks
was able to
everywhere.
get one out of every 3 times,
Exactly. Agree.
I would be a
Reasonable.
lot
Agree.
happier.
I didn't pull a permit
Like
this
you
year. I didn't
guys.
pull a waterfowl permit this year. Applying for every waterfowl permit in
and that to me says there's not enough of them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't know how to get them. Well, maybe there's just not enough quality areas. But I always think that agencies should be pushing to acquire more,
Mhm.
to create more of these high. I actually think the more of these places you produce, the more hunters you get.
Now, to be fair,
Honestly.
there are some places in the state of Florida. There are certain permits that don't get pulled every year because of the historically poor hunts that come out of it.
Yes, there are places that are just draw hunts that are
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
And people learn that.
Yeah,
and those
exactly.
ones should just go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get
Yeah.
rid of them completely. They should always be a high quality hunt,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well,
Because those are places like new hunters would go to
I mean-
and be like, what the hell?
I,
Yeah.
I would.
Jack got convinced into going down. He had a good buddy, that awesome dude, to go down to a permit, and they start catching bass instead of duck hunting because
They just went bass fishing.
Well, the
It's
thing
bad,
is,
yeah.
we saw a ton of birds, but by the time you drive 4 hours down to South Florida, because that's how long it takes me from Central Florida to get down to South Florida. By the time you get down to South Florida and it's the night before and you got to scout for the morning and you kind of hit the last,
You're out of time.
You're tired, you're beat down, you just drove 4 hours. You really got to make, it's like going to another state.
I mean,
Yep.
You got to make a trip out of it.
I convince people to pull permits just like we have like 70, 80 people in our group that
I wouldn't say that many.
But like through like me and all our boys, like as a whole
look
group.
at all the connection and friends and
but
family
like,
and everything.
Like I have buddies up in the Panhandle area that I convinced to apply to permits in South Florida that they drive 6 hours to me and then drive another 4 hours down. Like Florida's huge.
Yeah.
And you might drive down there and shoot one duck.
Yeah, like the opener I went down to a great area to hunt, historically smoked. We shot a six man out of there last year, and we killed like 2 ringers. And then I came back up to the Central Florida.
I've been there.
And we killed 1 teal the next day.
Yeah, I had a day where I went out on a Saturday and I ended up with the goose egg. Went out on a Sunday, ended up with the goose egg. I was so mad at myself. I ended up going again on Monday, just out of spite, and shot 12 ducks. And it was like, yeah, I'm back.
Mad at him.
Yeah, exactly.
I drove to Missouri,
Yeah.
hunted 2 days in the boot heel, pulled the trigger once, went to Mississippi, hunted 2 days, never pulled the trigger.
No.
Was supposed to go to the Texas coast, truck took a shit,
Yeah.
barely limped it back home last year.
Yeah.
Imagine that with a friend that I was like, I'm going to show you my old stomping grounds in,
Yeah.
in Missouri.
This
and
is my
Mississippi.
spot.
And he's like, what the hell? It was also dry as F and like the worst year ever.
Well,
They've been talking about that a lot online about how dry
It was bad last
Mississippi's-
year. Like this year is like,
Yeah.
it's way better. I mean,
And they're still complaining about it this year.
They're still complaining about it. It's I mean, in our local area, like we've been having a good year.
you can't fully fail up here.
No, like
You
there's
can't,
something,
unless you're an idiot.
there's something.
honestly.
If you're willing to put in
Like,
the work
Yes.
and
yes.
have a good understanding,
But
you
no
can-
one should come here because it's still
Yeah.
not. It's not
a destination.
It's not a destination.
It's not a destination.
It's like
Here,
it's not
people
like that.
always want to be like, "Hey, I'm going to come up to your place. I'm going to shoot a black duck." You guys are really lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I
how this
feel
worked
super
out.
lucky.
But like people see what I do online and I talk about it on the podcast. I'm like, you got to understand the truck is just full of gear. I never take it out.
Yeah.
I throw the dog. I get up at 4 or 5 in the morning. I do 3, 4, 5 hours of work, whatever. Sarah goes to work, and I go to the convenience store down the road. I grab a coffee and a breakfast sandwich, and I drive around.
Yeah.
And I look for ducks. And
That's
if
what
they're
we do.
there, I shoot them.
Yeah.
And if they're not, I come home and I go back to work.
If anybody
Because
Yeah.
and that's like, so it's like you can't just show up here
Yeah.
and be like, there's ducks, like Arkansas. Like Arkansas just has ducks.
That's what we would
Yeah.
say.
right.
about
Missouri
Florida
just
as
has
well.
ducks.
That's why I think all
North Dakota just has ducks.
I'm
in
getting
spring
about
timing.
the permit stuff because they're like, well, we've always like just fought
Smoked
for
them.
it. We've always had like a family haul.
Yeah.
Like we don't have that. We have to have good hunts a lot of the time. It requires a well managed area that
Yeah.
where the more that the not the area itself like physically is managed. That helps a lot.
That helps a lot. The food's
Yes,
got to be
but
there.
the biggest thing I think is just managing pressure.
The pressure.
Like there can be so much food, but if there's 20 guns banging in it every day of the week, there's not going to be a duck in
That's
there.
how Florida.
It's a
is.
whole,
Yeah.
it's
They're
a whole
all
other
over.
discussion.
But
Honestly,
if it's hunted
The
with half
pressure.
that amount 3 times a week,
Yeah.
there's birds there and everybody leaves happy.
Well, I mean,
Hopefully.
I just hunted state land in a downtime, I would say, where people were back to work, and I caught like 5 days in a row,
Mhm.
and I limited out 4 days. I killed 1 black duck one day,
And
that was that.
proves. Like,
Well,
quote unquote.
and then between Christmas and New Year's, we had another thaw,
Yeah.
and it was I didn't even go.
Yeah.
Because every single time I got
course.
there, I mean, it was what happened was previously when the thaw happened,
Mhm.
everybody was back to work.
Yeah.
And so the birds build up. The first time I found birds, I found 150 birds and I went and set up on them right away.
Yeah.
This time, as soon as it thawed, people were just going.
Yeah.
So if 4 ducks tried to show up,
They're
4
blasted.
ducks got shot
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
So they never got a chance to even build to 150.
Yeah, they never.
And so those are the things that shut yeah, we're gonna shut her down here, but let's do one more.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh,
We're gonna have a beer and then really talk stuff
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
after we turn this off.
Yeah.
But that's where I think, Dom, like what you're saying, where the days off
It helps.
matter.
And
a
it's
lot.
scientifically been proven to help.
Well, I don't know. Listen to the Nick Masto discussion. I mean, they say that even 7 days off doesn't matter, which up here is not a thing.
Well, I mean,
Like if you give ducks 2 days off here, that marsh is full.
Well, we're talking
Yeah.
about like managing like spots
Right.
where it's like
Oh, yeah.
people haven't figured it out yet. Like, how do you do it yourself?
So
And it's like it's kind of like, you know, like I think with the golden rule we always kind of gone with is like let's try not to hunt it maybe once a week if that works, and if it's not building, like every other week, and then not
thanks.
shooting into large groups.
yeah, not shooting into large groups is a big thing for me now. Like if I have a pack, like we've been very fortunate to collect a lot of models this year, and we've got a good spot where we've been consistently pulling models out of. And I've even gone with friends and I've instructed, if we have a pack of 15 to 20 fly in, we're not shooting a duck.
Right.
Sorry,
Lock
we
'em
get
out.
one duck a person.
Give them a break.
Give them.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point of educating that duck when we can go in there consistently and pull those ducks out of the hole?
Yeah.
But I had somebody, you come in and blast the crap out of them the next day, and you're like, oh dang, maybe I should have done that.
But-
But that's the crazy.
That's the tragedy of the
problem
commons.
creation that the
Like
snowball effect. of it.
greed equals greed,
Well,
And that's the
I-
thing about
I know it.
this.
I
It's
know
only
it.
one. It's only one a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people
It's half of our
for the
podcast.
listeners, it's one a day.
Yeah.
So like to get large samples of mottled ducks is pretty difficult.
Right.
You have to have a lot of really generous hunters that care
No.
a lot, which
Yeah.
we've been pretty fortunate.
We have.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of good hunters that have been,
Well, people are very
They're
passionate about the
Excited.
mottled
I love the
ducks.
mottled
And
ducks.
that goes back to like one of my favorite quotes from one of my like favorite hunters is that like when you talk to like people that are against hunting, it's like I know more about every one of these animals than you'll ever know.
So,
Every single time.
But like you like
I got pee. You guys
Oh, yeah.
brought up
Yeah.
this.
what you were saying with like the model duck stuff, it's like it's like I don't know, messing that up.
The mottled ducks for us are kind of like a species of osceola turkey
100%.
or tarpon in Florida.
Yeah.
For duck hunters, we look at them the same way, right? They're our duck, our Florida mottled
They're
duck.
like a little like delicacy for us.
Yeah, especially as someone that goes and hunts other states, we can use that as a tool to essentially get hunts. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go get you on your mottled duck. You're gonna come up and show me how to
Or a
shoot
fulvus
a
or a
Merriam's
black
turkey or
belly.
Eastern turkey.
One second.
I'm gonna get you on an Osceola turkey.
It becomes like a place like
Destination
Like,
hunt.
everybody wants
Yeah.
to go to Arkansas.
For instance.
Everybody wants to go to
Mhm.
Alaska if they're like us and they like the diversity. I want to shoot my king eider, my harlequin.
Yeah.
Good, you gotta go to Florida to kill your
I mean,
Florida model duck.
I mean, I would really consider I would take into the effect of I would say for most people, mottled duck is probably on their last 5 ducks killed of the 41.
I just
Yeah.
think it's an afterthought. I think
Yeah.
Florida is an afterthought because
Yeah.
you have to go down and kill the fulvus, and you can kill it in Louisiana. You can kill mottled ducks in Louisiana. You can kill
Yeah,
fulvus in
100%,
Louisiana. You can
100%.
kill
But there's something about killing a Florida model in Florida.
black bellies.
I'd
Oh,
say like
yeah.
the hard part about like all this science stuff isn't like people are like willing to do it or like care about it. It's hard because it's not like this can be applied to the entire country. Like yes, we could look at it as like a microcosm for what could happen to the wild North American mallard.
Yeah.
But like, are people that like duck hunt and live in Arkansas like gonna be up in arms about like maybe the mottled duck going genetically extinct? Like, I think they should.
I think
if you're
every
a passionate
true
waterfowl.
waterfowler should because
Like, how does that help me as like
Yeah.
a
but what if-
customer of Arkansas duck hunting?
Well-
It might not.
Can we quit
But-
picking on Arkansas and just be like Texas people? Or
but
something?
does
They like really got into you on the
But, like-
Facebook comments, so it's like fresh in my mind.
I pick on Arkansas a lot on purpose because they shoot more ducks than the whole country of Canada every year.
So we can't pick
But-
on them then.
But that's the thing. Is
They
like,
shouldn't
does-
pick on 'em.
They
does
ain't happy enough. They shoot a lot of mallards.
Does this
It's an amazing
microcosm-
place.
It's a great, wonderful.
Does this microcosm have like a concept of like maybe one day the actual North American mallard gets affected like this?
Or I'm gonna even make it in a positive note. Can we fix this?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah,
I
can we
agree.
fix it?
Can
Yeah.
we fix it?
Like, are we close enough? Are we like soon enough to have 41, or are we gonna get down to like in reality genetically 40?
Devil's advocate.
Yeah, go ahead.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It looks like a model.
Yes.
That quacks like a model.
Yes.
Model duck.
To me, as a Floridian, as your comment earlier said, what do you consider part of Florida, being a Floridian?
Model ducks.
Model ducks are
Model
a
ducks
perfect thing.
Model ducks
As a
are
duck
great.
hunter, it helps define you.
100%.
Oh, absolutely.
Just like I would say a wild North American mallard defines me, despite that I grew up in New York and didn't know I was shooting shit ducks for half my life.
My dad read like the Field and Stream article. He's like, no shit. 90% of the ducks aren't wild that are in New Jersey. That's scary.
Yeah. I mean, I shoot.
I mean, they're wild flying around, but
Yeah.
they're not genetically.
A lot of people, they're like, oh, game farm. Like, I heard them talking about it. And they like literally think it's like you're rowing like big fat farm duck. Like, no, it's
Yeah, they're different.
it looks like a mallard, quacks like a mallard, ain't a mallard.
And Florida has like I truly believe that Florida has resources to be a big part of this, and I don't think truly, and this is just from solely opinion, is like I don't think Florida truly really cares about waterfowl, because like everybody has modeled our alligator like resource program, like how we control and conserve alligators. Like every state in the United States has modeled it off of Florida's standard of how to kill enough gators that they're not a problem, and keep enough gators that they have a huntable population. They have the same thing for Osceolas. I mean, people debate Osceola, like the Osceola population is going down.
Turkeys.
But yeah, Osceola turkeys.
Yeah.
But I had Osceola turkeys in my front yard in the middle of a subdivision the other day.
Right.
Like I have videos of it. My dog's going crazy at the window, and I just I don't know what the solution is.
I worked specifically with the waterfowl biologist for years, and she's retired now. She moved way up in Florida's game and fish.
Yeah.
Amazing. I would say that the state of Maine, or the state of Florida, because I was working in the state of Maine. That's a little different. The state of Florida people do care about it.
They do care.
I think it's mostly, you're like 19,000 strong. And so your voice might. So this is what we were talking about before we started.
This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland, streaming on Prime Video March 27th.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Jack, it's incredible how much wetland restoration, how much policy goes on towards waterfowl conservation, despite there being not many of us.
That's a fair point.
And it very much speaks to like the passion you've heard in this conversation tonight, that we way outkick our coverage.
And I would say a lot of my comments come from frustration of what I've seen.
Oh, I'm super critical of the state of New York for specific reasons, but I think also there's a lot that the state of New York does to provide us with amazing.
Like I said earlier, there's a lot of good people in Florida.
It's, the way when I'm critical of stuff, it's not like animosity.
For sure.
It's like, hey, let's talk about this and do it better.
Because I want my kid in whatever that is, 30 years to be smoking full. Like models,
right? Like a pure model.
Like I want to be. I want me to be like, this is your first model.
How about Grandpa?
Yeah.
Grandpa gets his grandson or granddaughter.
Exactly.
Their first model though.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, if I have girls there.
And I wanted to.
If I have girls,
they're in the marsh.
You like it or you don't.
Yeah.
Here's your 28 gauge.
Yeah. Have fun.
They do a lot of good work in Florida.
They do.
When I went and was an advocate and tried to push as much as I could at the Apopka meetings, and when I say I was an advocate, there's a lot of people that did a lot more work than I did. I would shout out Stacy Whittam from Delta Waterfowl that really pushed for, Apopka to essentially
What is Opopka?
Lake Apopka.
Lake Apopka.
It's the one I talked about with the spraying of the hydrilla.
Yep.
There's an area of Lake Apopka that previously wasn't huntable. Through advocacy, through talking to the right people, it's now, in 2025 going to become huntable.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into it too much, just because, I don't really know the intricacies of the huntable area and what's going to happen and where it's going to go. But the people we worked with at I think it was St. John's River Management kind of group, they were very, very kind. They really wanted to help us. They wanted to see more areas open up for hunting. It really is just being able to have a conversation and talk to people like humans, and just sit down and have these kind of conversations.
Like these conversations.
And they say, why do you care? Why are you so passionate? And you tell them why you care and you show them why they're so passionate. And 99% of the time they'll listen.
Because they also care.
They care. And
they just don't have the
things work
firsthand knowledge.
Slowly, and we had some there's advocacy groups in Florida that came in and they can be really aggressive. Like they'll hit them with aggression, and I never think advocacy should be aggression with aggression. You got to find a middle ground, right? You can't tell these homeowners, no, we're not going to spray your lake at all. We're going to make sure that you have, we've got tons of hydrilla, and
you can't
there's not
get your boat out there.
Yeah, you can't get your boat out there.
Normal out.
There's got to be a middle ground. Yeah, and
But what is that middle ground?
What is
the
that middle
hardest
ground?
part?
Yeah,
is what is suitable for both.
Right.
Like you just spray half the lake, but you can't do that because it's a weird concept.
Yeah, and then they're spraying half the lake and spraying half the lake with. They're spraying using helicopters to put spray into a natural body of water in Florida. It rolls off your tongue. It doesn't necessarily sound like the best thing for the water. We're going to spray the water with chemicals to kill all the plants that are cleaning the water because they're invasive.
And then you're
you say it out loud and you're like, wait,
it's messy.
And then you're going to water ski it.
Yeah, and then we want to spray the lake with chemicals so we can water ski it. Like, this isn't, doesn't sound too good after all.
It's not like very conservation focused.
No, it's not.
Or health focused.
Then again, hydrilla is invasive, so it was put there by us to clean the lake, and we have to get it out now that the lake's clean. But as you know, getting hydrilla out of a lake is no easy task.
It's never going to go away.
Yeah.
No, it's
you're going to control.
It's like bamboo. It just goes everywhere.
Yeah, it grows. Yeah. Great for duck hunting. I love it. I love hydrilla. I get that t-shirt made too.
I love hydrilla.
I love hydrilla. I got shot in the face at the zoo.
Yeah.
All right. On that, I think we're going to wrap up, guys. Dominic, you're going to give us a final comment on mottled ducks? Okay, get back in here.
We need to, there's a lot we need to understand still.
Say that closer to the microphone.
There's a lot we need to understand still.
Mottled ducks?
From what we know now, it's kind of alarming, and it really warrants further investigation. With the help of you guys and everybody that's really passionate about it in Florida, I really think we can make a difference in the next coming years. And just in terms of understanding things and hopefully, advising potential management decisions that could really help out your you're kind of like your duck child of your state.
Duck child. Because otherwise, you're just eating iguanas.
You're eating iguanas
that fall out of trees. As soon as it hits 50, they just bowling balls.
You're gonna eat iguanas, some bull hogs, and hopefully scratch your way at a couple slot redfish.
Yeah,
and an alligator.
And an alligator
too. But
cheers, guys. We didn't do this. I appreciate you all being here.
Cheers. And as Floridians, I think I can speak for me and Jack. We both appreciate the effort that's going into it from y'all.
Yeah, we really appreciate the a university, people of like yourselves looking into this issue for the state of Florida.
I think it's important.
Every duck hunter we've talked to is just very, very happy about
it.
Well, people are also they're kind of like, why even some of the people we've talked to, like, why the heck do you care about Florida mottled ducks? You're in New York. Like, even you were like, what? Why? And I'm like, well, I was there once.
I didn't say that.
You're kind of like, why? But you're kind of like, we don't know anything about Florida. I don't know anyone there. I'm like, I know some guys.
You brought this to my table. I deeply appreciate it. These guys need to go back home, never come back to our part of the country and shoot our ducks.
Just like we will switch off every other year.
Just like those out-of-staters in Arkansas.
You come here.
You come here next year. We slice your tires.
Yeah.
If we see any New York tags, y'all are toast.
Yeah. We're pulling stems.
You losers better stay in Florida.
But Dom got assaulted by a New York guy because he still has Pennsylvania plates.
Some guy asked me, he's like, "When was the last time you hunted here?" I'm like, 5 days ago.
I've lived here for 8.
I've lived here for 8. What
years.
are you, the mayor of the harbor?
Yeah, we
Like,
yeah.
as there's 20 boats in the ramp. Yeah, we're going somewhere else. Have a nice day, buddy.
Yeah, I had a gentleman ask me the other day. He goes, "So how did you find this lake?" And I'm like, I'm like, my dad brought me here, and I was like 11. Like,
Hey, it's all open. People travel more than they used to, but I mean, I appreciate the fact that people find this place, reasonable to go to. But we're gonna end it with stay home.
Yeah,
it's tongue in cheek.
Same for Florida too.
Yeah.
Well, that was the comment. Is like what we have coming. Like you guys, you deal with your warm.
Yeah.
You deal with your mosquitoes.
93 degrees.
We do.
TLC
We
season.
get it for 5 hot seconds in the summer. We can still grow okra and sorghum and stuff like that up here. But man, like the windows are getting covered with snow here at the farm.
Yeah. Just walked out to get a beer.
I love a good lake effect snowstorm.
Oh,
No, it's
When
beautiful. I will say it's beautiful.
When I gotta fire up the tractor and push, like there is nothing that takes out frustration than banging on snow with a tractor for 2 hours. Like it's it's never gonna say no.
No.
You can push it wherever you want most times.
yeah.
And it's just like quiet, private time in your own head, pushing
100%.
snow around. It's something that other people don't quite get, but I enjoy it.
I'm hating lake effect snow, trying to get these guys out to go shoot longtail ducks.
Where are you trying to get to? Oh no,
Yeah,
big water.
Big
Sorry.
water. We're trying to get to Lake Ontario where we
Yeah.
won't get swamped the 17-footer with a 20-foot wave.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Oh, the winds are still shitty, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Auto
brainstorming,
configuration.
but you guys came the wrong weekend to go shoot longtail ducks.
And it's closed up north,
Yeah, I can't take you up there.
and they're still there.
And we're not going to patch. We're not
There's
going to.
100,000 snow geese up in the St. Lawrence right
Oh,
now,
yeah.
supposedly. So
Oh yeah, we're
We'll
not going
chase
to
that.
take you guys to pass shoot longtail ducks and give them to the mercy of Lake Ontario and hope that they blow to shore. We're
that
not gonna
happens.
Do that. People
Nobody
do that.
It's messed up. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're not doing that.
So,
They're going to be in the decoys.
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, that's the one. That, I mean, you don't want to.
Just like the Golden Eyes this morning, smoking.
How
them,
long are you here?
Until Sunday.
Yeah, 2 more days, 2 more hunts.
Yeah, it's not
Terrible.
gonna happen. It's gonna be calm winds tomorrow, isn't it? It's about getting the.
We're gonna try it.
It's
I think we're going to try it.
We're gonna try it.
We're gonna
We're
give
about
it a try.
all right. We're gonna wrap up. Cheers, everybody!
Cheers,
Thanks for being
gents.
here.
Alrighty.
Good stuff, man. Thank you.
We didn't do the close.
What close?
And the skies may be filled. Oh, what is it again?
Oh, he doesn't.
I don't want to say it the wrong way.
You should put that in
You
there.
just failed. You just failed.
I've heard it a million times. You say it first.
You want to close this out? And as always, may your skies be filled and shoot straight, my
Yeah.
friends.
And as always, may your skies be filled and shoot straight, my friends.
Awesome.